What is up, nerds and turds? We've got ourselves another HomePod. We've got ourselves 4 HomePods. Alright, I guess I must be hearing stuff. Anyways, first up is Ben. After that, we've got 3 from Jeff. Let's send Ben a quick email, or rather text message, so they can watch along. There we go. Looks like the power cable kinda messed that up a little bit in shipping. Or it was like that. Who knows? We'll try to massage that out. So it looks like the usual no power symptoms. We've got nothing lighting up on the top. We've got a couple of watts out of the wall. So, from the outside, it appears to be the same as all the others. We're going to get this taken apart, and we will do a little bit of maintenance while we're inside. And by that, I mostly mean we will be replacing a couple of DC filtering capacitors that naturally decay over time, and in the case of the HomePods leads to death farts and bass issues, so we don't want to do all this work and everything fixing the power issue and then have it come back to us for death farts in a short matter of time when we can prevent that. Seen enough of these filters test okay and then fail months later that yeah, at this point we just replace them if the HomePod we're working on still has the originals. And then once we do our maintenance, of course, we will replace the Schottky diode that's failed and caused their no power problem. And just by replacing it with a brand new one, the problem won't ever happen again. As you may have guessed by that, there was only 2 weeks worth of those diodes manufactured that fail like this, so replacing it with a newer one by itself permanently resolves the problem. Not to mention the replacement we use is rated slightly better and manufactured to slightly higher standards, so we really like to make sure that these don't come back. Get some isopropyl alcohol in there to loosen up the glue. Yes, sir. Also, welcome to the stream. Glad you could make it. But yes, to answer your question, the new one won't fail. And while we're at it, since death farts are cropping up as too common of an issue to ignore at this point, considering all first gens were manufactured during the same run, they're all about 6-ish years old at least now, so we're seeing all of those filters failing, causing death farts and roasting subwoofer speakers, so we like to get ahead of that with some replacement filters while we're inside. I used to get away with not having to replace the filters every time, only if they tested bad specifically. And it's not always obvious if they're bad without testing them too, but yeah, we just replace them and every single time now. I guess that's what you learn going through thousands of them and working on them for, I think, and goodness, I think we've been doing this for over 2 years now. And it's even crazier that it's basically been as busy as it has since the day we started. On average, we get a couple a day. Some days we don't get any, and some days we get like 4 or 6. My least favorite days are ones like yesterday, where I only got 2 in, and I had time to do 1 or 2 more, and I go to pick them up, and as soon as I get home from the UPS store, another one shows up. That was actually Ben's here. So they missed out on getting fixed up yesterday. Even though the UPS store is only like 2 or 3 miles, it's just an insane drive to get there. It's chaos. There's no good time to do it. Well, I could go in the morning, but then I miss everything that shows up throughout the rest of the day, of course. I usually try to hit them around noon. That's usually when most things show up. Sometimes I get stragglers that come in after like 1 or 2 o'clock. But traffic gets exponentially worse. Traffic is actually okay until you get like a block away. And then it's just like complete chaos. But it doesn't really bug me. I just don't have the yeah. It can get pretty crazy. I'll just leave it at that. All right. We are at our filters. We're gonna get those knocked out first. Oh geez, don't apologize. I'm not asking for anyone to apologize. I sign up for this. I quite enjoy the getting to drive down there because of As silly as it is, mostly because the cars that I drive, I enjoy driving them, so. The time is hard to find, though. What should only take 5-10 minutes to get down there and back takes 30-45 minutes, and then by the time I get back, I got a whole bunch of missed calls and messages, and I gotta. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just rambling. But I do love to drive around. If I could take the kid with me, it'd probably make it easier on my wife, because my wife gets stuck at home by herself watching the kid whenever I gotta step out. So, gotta try to make it as quick as I can. She is actually out with the kid doing some derby thing downtown. Some, like, market thing. I don't know. They're doing some food bank run where you can donate some cans and get a couple bucks off some food there, I think. So we're home alone, which means we can be loud and obnoxious. But seldom have I been home alone in a long time, so I've gotten not only used to being a lot quieter, but sometimes like almost whispering sometimes on stream, because a lot of times the kid will be asleep and I don't want to wake her up. And people will be commenting, they'll be like, why are you talking so quietly? Like, are you trying not to wake someone up? And it's like, exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Ooh, that's hot. Hot and spicy. Perfect. Almost perfect. All right, there we go. Let's flip over and get our diode. Look at that, dated 48K. It's the four 8Ks and the 6Ks that we see consistently failing on us. So you don't know what you got until it breaks or you take it apart and look. And there's no sense in worrying about any of your other HomePods. If they're working fine, don't worry about whether it has this diode inside or not. If it does and it fails, it's going to cost the exact same, or it's going to be the same amount of effort and all that to fix it as it would be to take it apart and replace it if it were still good, just as like a just in case. Those filters, however, that is a different story. Those filters, unlike this diode, when this diode dies, that's all that dies, and nothing else really gets hurt. It could sit like that forever and it wouldn't do anything. But those filters that we already replaced go bad, and then too much DC voltage gets through the amplifier, and now parts of the amp that aren't supposed to see all this extra DC voltage get roasted, and then that gets sent to the subwoofer where it roasts the subwoofer coil. So hopefully it's starting to become more clear the incentive we have to be on top of replacing those filters, because if we do it now, it's just a couple of caps and you're good to go. If we ignore it, you might end up needing to replace the whole amplifier board and a subwoofer speaker. And I try to harp on that with, I see people sell like refurbished or repaired HomePod parts on like eBay or whatever. And I press them on it. I'm like, you say this is refurbished. Did you like check its DC offset? And half the time people say like, what are you talking about? And it's like, okay. And like, to be fair, I didn't know anything about HomePods, much about audio amplifiers, and very little about electronics repair before jumping into our little side business with HomePods. I didn't know anything about DC offset. But that DC offset was like the little golden nugget that really cracked the case for these. Because at the time, nobody knew why people's HomePods would start popping and then farting and then smelling nasty. Literally death farts. Before the subwoofer would just go out and you'd lose all your bass. But typical me, people thought that it was a different part on the amplifier that was going bad and causing death farts. And not just that, but that there was no replacement or repair for said death farts once it happens to you. But typical me was like, I don't believe that. So after a lot of research, I learned a bunch of things. I learned like that audio is an AC signal, not a DC signal. As far as the analog audio signal that you feed into a speaker, that is an analog, that is an AC signal, not DC. And that kind of came as a surprise to me because intuitively, I always thought like speaker hookups always had a positive and negative, right? So intuitively you would think that's a DC signal. That's a DC current. No. See, the thing with an analog audio signal is with AC, you've got a full sine wave, so the speaker moves in one direction the same amount as it does the other direction before returning to the middle. Whereas a DC voltage will move the speaker in one direction and hold it there. And now the speaker has to work extra hard to stay there. It's got limited range, and the amplifier has to work extra hard to do all that too. All for a signal that, a DC signal that you can't even hear. You might hear a bit of the popping sound as the DC voltage is applied or taken away as a result of the amp turning on or off from, its low power mode or standby or whatever. Yeah, it turns a lot of the internals off after about 10 minutes of inactivity to save power. And then any kind of interaction with it, even if it thinks you said its magic words, it will internally power everything back up. Beautiful. Is there any reason for me to send you my other original HomePod before it fails? Not necessarily. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, if it's working fine for you now, there's not much really any reason to send it in and get anything done ahead of time. As far as the death farts and, ignoring that and it leading to more expensive repairs down the road, what matters there is, of course, once you notice it start to misbehave, that's when you want to stop using it and get it fixed. You don't want to ignore problems and continue using it. That's when you start breaking things. That's when you start breaking more things. So that's my general suggestion for people is if it's working fine for you, don't bother sending it in. Don't worry about taking it apart yourself and fixing it or preemptively replacing anything. Just wait for it to have a problem worth even getting addressed. If it stops powering on suddenly, get it unplugged and send it in whenever you feel like it. I mean, it's not going to suddenly start turning back on for you. If it's starting to pop really loud, a lot louder than it used to, then that's a problem that you want to immediately stop using it and get it fixed. You don't want to ignore that kind of stuff, especially if it's actually death farting on you and force restarting all the time. And to that note, it's perfectly normal for all first and second gen HomePods to make a little bit of a pop as they wake up or go back to sleep. Not a problem at all, just a sign of it's just working normally. It's a problem when it's really loud, really noticeable, like a loud thump. Or like I was saying, if it's actually death farting and force restarting on you. What's the farthest HomePod I've gotten? I mean, we've gotten them from pretty much every country around the world that allows shipments in and out of the US. What country is the farthest away from from us anyways. Chances are we've gotten one from there, but I'd have to hear the names to know. We've gotten some from like South Korea, Taiwan, I want to say like China. I'm not sure if we've gotten any from China. I could be wrong. I'd have to look at my history again, but I've had a few people from Russia email me, but unfortunately there's just no way to get anything to and from there from here. So as much as I want to help them, I can't. I've gotten a few from Ukraine though. It was very expensive, but it was their only option. So, but we did get, I think, one or two, maybe. Madagascar. No, I don't think we have gotten anything from Madagascar, actually. Look at that. Fixed up and ready to go. Give that a sec to fail connecting to the Wi-Fi.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet.
Very good. Sounds good. Volume buttons light up nice and evenly. So Ben is all fixed. Ben, feel free to stick around. We've got like 3 more to fix up. Or feel free to dip. No obligation. But we'll text you after the stream here on how to wrap yours up and get your HomePod back, yeah? So, let's switch it on up over to Jeff, if I can find my mouse. Here we go. Jeff sent in, 3 HomePods, 2 with bass issues, and 1 with no power. So, let's take a look at what we ended up with first. Most likely, he's got 2 with bass issues. Most likely, these have the aforementioned death farts or DC offset resulting from those ceramic capacitors decaying. But let's see what we got first. Looks like it's powering up, so we're gonna put, let's see, are we gonna have no bass at all, or is it gonna be poppy? Oof, that's poppy. All right, let's do some work. Thanks for dropping by, Ben. Talk to you soon. Whew. Boy, that step right there. If I could choose to skip any one step in the entire repair process for HomePods, it would be peeling that plastic top off. Hands down. Oh boy, do I love prying the basket off with our big fat flathead. I wouldn't take that away for anything. But curse those tops. Logic board is liberated. It's time to refill our isopropyl here. A little spill never kill no one. Just alcohol. This is the same stuff we actually use to clean up any kind of stains or smudges that we can off of the mesh of these bad boys. Oh, we might be able to peel this right off. Ah, not quite. Now we can. Okay, hopefully it hasn't done its damage to the woofer yet. Let's take a look. Yes! It's a fresh smelling subwoofer to me. Yes, I get to charge more if I have to replace the subwoofer, but I do not like to. I'd much rather be replacing individual components that I can buy off the shelf, as opposed to whole components like a whole subwoofer speaker that I have no economical replacement for. Like, there's like one seller in China selling these for like, I think 40 to 60 bucks plus the 30 to 40 bucks for shipping. And that by itself already pretty much eliminates using those as an option. Nobody's going to want to pay how much I would have to charge to make money off of that kind of a repair, let alone just selling the part to people too. Nobody wants to pay that much for the part. So where do I get my parts? I still have a small stash of broken ones that I've bought up over the years, and a few of my own that I've used myself and taken apart 4 parts to fulfill a few other repair promises over the years, but yeah, that's the only place to get them is another HomePod. That's the only place they've ever come from. Apple never sold parts, and no one else ever sold brand new parts. There have been a few online retailers that seem to have broken down HomePods for parts and sold individual pieces briefly, but by the time I started fixing HomePods, they did not sell anything anymore. They were out of everything. Yeah, I think it was some Spanish website, some Spanish electronics website. And they had pretty reasonable prices on all their stuff too. It was like 30 or 40 bucks for a logic board. Are you kidding me, my guy? When I had logic boards, I had to charge $100 for the repair. And they're selling the boards by themselves for 40 bucks. That to me is a pretty good deal. Hopefully, no promises, but there's this guy that's been talking to me that seems so far, at least more capable than I am at finding a real fix for all of the bricked HomePods, you know, the ones with the blinking volume buttons. So hopefully we'll see here in a few weeks or months soon a real fix for those involving simply restoring the software on them as it should be with a 3D printable USB adapter that you connect simply to the bottom of the HomePod under its rubber base. But once that happens, we can offer repairs on bricked HomePods again, and they'll be cheaper too. And we'll have a boatload of logic boards for sale. I must have at least 50 or 60 bricked logic boards just set aside waiting for the day that we find a fix for them. At least some of them. There we go. For some reason the top pads weren't taking anything, and it turned out my soldering iron did not take any solder to the tips, so we only got half the pads. But there you go. Just had to scrape our soldering iron tip clean, and good as new again. Man, if you're looking for like tips on soldering, you're just getting started and looking for pro tips, I'll give you 2 good pro tips. Get good flux, and use it of course, and get a good, I mean, you can get the cheapest one you want, just get something to scrub your soldering iron tip clean, you know, and scrub it between pretty much every time you go to solder anything, because when your iron sits there it corrodes a fair bit. Beautiful. Absolutely spectacular. What date code do we have on our diode there? 48K. Curses. I hate this. So this diode still works just fine, but it is guaranteed to fail and cause no power, so we'll go ahead and replace that. I was hoping we would have an easy one, but not today. Yeah, so this is the exact same part that failed on the previous HomePod we worked on for Ben and caused no power. If it had any newer or older date code, we wouldn't have to worry about it, but it's got the date code that always fails, so we gotta worry about it. All right. That should make this HomePod happy again. Alright, let's give this a quick check. And get the next one opened up from Jeff here. Let's see if we pick another one with base issues or if we grab the one with power issues. That is much better.
I'm having trouble.
Beautiful. On to the next one. Let's see what we've got here. Alright, we picked the other one with base issues, so we'll let that boot up and give it a quick check.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. I'm having trouble.
All right. So what's interesting is when they first emailed us, they said one has no base and the other has death farts. But so far, both of these have had their base. So I wonder if it's just the offset making the base too weak for them to really notice. We will find out. That's usually what happens though with this DC offset, since it's making the subwoofer and amp work extra hard for literally nothing. It does reduce their general abilities, so that they won't work as well. Subwoofer looks great. Got a 52K dated diode, so it looks like on this one it just needs some filters. Yeah. Yes. Alright. We are left with one more from Jeff. I presume this is going to be the one with no power.
I'm having trouble.
Ooh, yeah, that is a lot louder now. Alright. So that is definitely fixed. Here we go. Number 3 and the last one today from Jeff. It should be no power. Let's double check. Yes, indeed. So, let's get this apart and fixed up. Alright, first up, a little bit of maintenance with some new filters to keep the death farts away. We don't want what's happening, or we don't want what's already happened to Jeff's other two HomePods to start to happen to this one if we can help it, so we're just going to replace those same filters. And of course our friend the 48K dated diode. Who could forget him? Oh no, which one is it? That step down's looking a little crusty, so we'll reflow that while we're here. Alright. That should make 3 happy HomePods for Jeff here. Let's get this put back together and get out of here. There we go. We got all 4 pods that showed up fixed without a problem. Any day now.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. For more info, check the home app. I'm having trouble.
Alright. That is it. All fixed up. I hope everybody enjoyed this live stream repair, and we'll